Hello there, welcome to the Kenya Times, for the people, by the people. Today being on 12th June 2025, there's a lot of things that is happening around the country. Today, I'm privileged and honored to have you. Remember that you can reach us through our social media handles at the Kenya Times. If this video you're watching it here on YouTube, ensure you subscribe so that anytime we post a video, you are able to be notified. I'm privileged and honored today to host a guest who is Professor Fred Ogola. He's a governance and a political expert, but the man has a lot of names. Prof,
yes.
Which is which? Others are calling you an activist, governance expert, political expert. Which is which?
Actually, many names have come, but let me say the one I relate to the most. It's called the people's economist.
The people economist.
Yes. Mwana uchumi ya wa Kenya.
Ya wa Kenya.
Kama Kenya anataka kuumia mahali kiuchumi, nitamwambia hii itakuumiza hivi na niko na hiyo macho ya kuona. Kama ni uchumi, sioni kama kuna kitu naweza nishinda hapo.
Is it your first time to be at the Kenya Times?
Yeah, actually, it's my first time to be at Kenya Times during these hard times.
Yes.
Yes. So I think it's an honor. Thank you very much, Kenya Times, for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to having a good conversation that can add life, add value to the people of Kenya.
It is actually a privilege. Remember that you can be reaching us, the way I said, through our social media at the Kenya Times. There's a lot of things that is happening around the country, and right now our correspondent is informing me that the Gen Z protest is underway at Nairobi CBD. Demanding for the justice of the late ex-influencer Albert Ojwang. Also, the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, John Badi, is now addressing the legislatures at the National Assembly to unveil the budget of 2025-2026. But Prof, now, let us dive into the conversation. Now, our correspondent is telling us that these Gen Z protests at the Nairobi CBD, they're demanding for the justice of the late ex-influencer Albert Ojwang. And there has been a lot of questions concerning his death and how he was being transported all the way from Homa Bay, 400 kilometers to Nairobi, just to be charged, and even died at the police station. What really happened? Why was it important to transport the guy all the way from Homa Bay, 400 kilometers to Nairobi, yet there are police station at Homa Bay and even other security agencies?
Yeah, legally this was completely needless. It was completely unnecessary. And in fact, there was no need even to arrest him, because the allegation that was found by his colleague, Kelvin, was eventually not to be able to be put in a charge sheet. Even DPP refused to confirm the charges. But you asked critical questions, 400 kilometers. And I want to just ask something simple. Maybe it depends on where I grew up. I grew up in Kibra. Whenever we could be invaded, if you call the police station and ask them to come to rescue you, they would ask you to send them fuel. And that will be a distance of 600 meters. If they don't have fuel for 600 meters, where did they get the fuel for 400 kilometers? Who paid these policemen? Is it in the budget? If it's in the budget, then for sure we have budget for abductions, we have budget for killings, we have budgets for unlawful arrest. So budget-wise, do you think that a policeman who is an OCS in Central can afford to order a mission that goes 400 kilometers to and fro? Those are 800 kilometers, plus minus. So it means that there must be some impunity within the policemen, where they can spend without adhering to the budget, or at least there must be state-funded allocations for abductions, killings, and all those things. The second question you have to ask that, do you know that if you commit a crime, where we are here is Ngong Road, isn't it?
Yes.
These, we are under which police station? Kilimani Police.
Kilimani.
Should something happen here and you go report in Mudangari, they will tell you to go back to your region. Have you heard those things? So why did they apply double standards to Ojwang? One, I've told you, in terms of they have money to arrest whom they want. But now if you go to the policeman and claim that someone has stolen something from you, or that somebody has taken has endangered your life in a way, they'll tell you, record in the OB, and they'll asking for more days. Here there was no waiting. So the double standards. Secondly, a budget for going all the way to Homa Bay. Thirdly, bypassing all police stations. Fourth, if you go to Article 51, it's given very clearly the right of anybody who has been arrested. And one of the most important things that the Constitution is very clear is that you still have right to life. Secondly, they talk about you have restricted freedom, but you still have freedom, meaning that you cannot say, I'm going to take a walk when you're being arrested, but you can ask, I want food, I want this, I want to talk to so-and-so, I want to talk on my phone. All those rights are not suspended. You are just being constrained in freedom to allow investigation. The other right you have a right to a legal access. You also have a right to health treatments. Should you feel unwell, you can order immediately be treated. So when did Ojwang start feeling unwell? Why was he not denied the chance to access medical attention? They took him to hospital too late. Then you hear so many inconsistent conversations that Ojwang was checked in at
Bagati.
He died around 2 o'clock, but he was checked in Magadi Hospital at 2:30. The times, the locations, the story don't tally. So it means that the entire police system is an accomplice. That if you ask me, we don't need police reforms. We need an overhaul in the police system. But it does not end there. The head of state is the commander-in-chief of all armed forces. So it also means that the head of state is head of state, but also commander-in-chief of all armed forces did not do their work to command, they give the right command to the forces. So we can see a system which is has been rigged against Kenyans. We see a system which is not able to take dissent. You know, as a human being, you should be able to deal with dissent. Like, when I was driving to this place, I reached at the gate, I was on the phone, I was late to arrive, and I told the watchman at the gate that, please, I'm in a hurry. Can I just, I told him, no, you have to check you. You understand? So that is...
There are procedures that are being followed.
You have to obey that. So I had to tell the guy who was talking, please, stop talking to me. Let me go through the process, because like anybody else, you must go through it, because every place has got their rules and regulations. So these people violated so many things. In fact, I am so heartbroken that this death was completely unavoidable. Whatever he offended anybody with could be sorted out through, I could see millions of options that it could be used to solve out. It could be just by calling him and he forgives. You could be asking him, pull down any post you put, we don't like it. So many ways. Every one of us has something wrong posted about them. If you go to your social media, you'll find that someone says somewhere you're a thief. And someone can say somewhere you stole something from them. Should you kill anybody? Life is so precious, there cannot be substituted by anything else. Can you imagine the speed with which Ojwang was upheld and killed, and yet offense was just possible publication of false information? Why don't we have the same speed now that he has died to arrest the people who are culpable? So I am realizing that this country, Wanyama, si sawa. Yes.
But also, what you're saying, there's also some of the questions that Kenyans are still asking concerning the contradictory statements between the DCI and the police. Yesterday, when the Inspector General, Douglas Kanja, together with the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen, when in the Parliament, there was a lot of, in the Senate, when they were giving out what happened to the death of Ojwang, there was a lot of statement that many Kenyans are not understanding. what really means, what does it mean to the country, to the security of a normal mwananchi? Because if these things can be happening like this, how Kenyans can be assured of their security?
First and foremost, you see in the budget being read today, security has got the highest. Actually, they say it's among the winners in the budget, meaning they have enough money to do the work needed. So if it's about reporting, if it's about preparing statements, there is no excuse in terms of resources at all. You've heard they're saying that the security system is corrupt because of resources. Yet, they're the ones who are biggest gainers in the budget, so that is not taken. The other thing is that if there are a lot of inconsistencies, does it mean, one, that we have a very incompetent police system that cannot be able to answer any questions that Kenyans are asking? That's an option. Does it mean that there is there's an evil which was committed, and this evil can only be hidden, cannot allow you to tell the truth? Because I told you, the truth is very easy to say without contradiction. There's what they call in philosophy the principle of non-contradiction. Do you know every reality begins by that principle? That a thing cannot be and not be at the same time in the same place. Meaning that you cannot be in Baghdadi and not be in Baghdadi at the same time in the same place. It's impossible. In the same way. And maybe you can be there by spirit, but not physically. So how can Ojwang be at a central police at 2:35, also be at Baghdadi at 2:35, also be at City Mortuary at 2:35? You know, we have no biolocation as human beings. Only God has it. Omniscient is only God. Omnipotent is only God. So God can be everywhere, and God knows everything, and God has powers over everything. Human beings, if I am here, I cannot even be 1 meter away from where I am. That's the only place I can be. So these inconsistencies also means that there's no truth. But let me tell you where I can put my finger as investigations expert. This inconsistency you see coming out, you may see these policemen are fools. They know what they are doing. Do you know why they are bringing so many inconsistencies? So that investigation becomes complex. You know, when somebody says Magadi, then they take you to Central, then they take you to City Mortuary, then they take you to Karora Forest, then they take you to DCI offices. So if you are investigating, you have to do multiple investigations to verify and to falsify that this is actually what happened.
But Prof, before you continue, there is a lot of cases that has actually been said like this. So many cases, especially recently, there's been so much killing. The killing of Archbishop, Father Lois, and even others which has been happening. But the police say we will do investigations, and even IPOA, you know, say that we will do investigations and tell you what really happened and justice be done to the families. But we have ever, among those cases, it is very few cases which actually go to the last point and the family get justice. What should the government do to ensure that these kind of cases, the families of the deceased get justice at the end of the day?
First of all, Nixon, the biggest word or the word that I have a biggest problem with in IPOA, actually not in the word, the letter, but actually is a word, I, independent. That is the biggest thing. The word I has been misused in Kenya since I was born. IEBC, independent.
Electro.
IPOA, independent. How many independents are there? Even the word independence itself, that we are independent. We are not. Because we said, Hakuna madaraka bila mamlaka. You cannot be independent when you have no power to make decisions. Like now we're saying Kenya is an independent republic, yet you have no say about your security, your health, your education, your cost of living, the economy. You have no say over anything. Someone can come and pick you in front of your parents. So what I'm trying to say is that why I'm telling you these policemen are giving us a lot of contradicting information intentionally, they have mastered this game. Since they were born, how many people, you know, for you to rise from being just a junior police officer to be an IG, do you know how many deaths you have seen? You see, that day when we were in the city mortuary, one of the lady from LSK, I don't want to mention her name because I don't have her permission, she said this is the 70th postmortem I'm witnessing. How many postmortem have you witnessed?
Several.
That was my first witness. I was witnessing the postmortem for the first time. So I was witnessing because it was so painful and I wanted to ensure everything goes right. So how many deaths have Kanja seen? How many people killed by the state have they investigated? How many people have IPOA investigated and gave the results they want to give? So these people have got a schema. For you, you have one case you are dealing with, and for them, they have dealt with 1 million cases the same way. So they know how to manipulate the whole thing, and that's why they know how to say, we leave no stone unturned. Did you hear that statement during Ojwang's investigation? See, they said they leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you heard statements that are very familiar with others that you hear every day? Like, justice must be given. That justice must be served. Have you heard those statements? MP say it, the police officer say it, and there's something you have to understand. Who does the Kenya police account for? Are they accountable to anybody? I'm just asking, do you think they are accountable to anybody?
No.
So if you are dealing with a police system that is accountable to nobody but the head of state, then the problem begins from there. You understand? Because look here, Kanja and Langat, they are one deputy, another is other boss. Are you seeing how they are fighting each other? In fact, I gave a statement that day that Kanja died on the crossfire between the two bosses are fighting. When two elephants fight, the grass suffer.
Yes, indeed.
So Ojwang was the grass. Because what we know is that these people are fighting in a succession battle. There are some people from a certain part of this government that want Kanja not to be the IG because he comes from Madeira and Nyeri. They believe that somebody from let's say Eldoret or Ruto's turf should be the IG. Now, what's the process? Then that's how he was involved, and that's maybe what has come to the death. So, what we hear that justice will be served, they have never served us with justice. I don't know which is the menu for justice. How does it look like? Which plate do they use to serve justice? So, as far as I'm concerned, these are all problems. And I want to go to a very important institution. The people who are misleading this country is the parliament. We have a serious institutional failure from those IPOA, EACC. Should I become president for 1 minute, even 1 minute, I'll use 10 seconds to disband EACC permanently, disband IPOA permanently, and make rule of law. No, when there's rule of law, hakuna mambo ya kuweka so many institutions here, that institutions here. Rule of law. Just put rule of law once and for all. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no rule of law. These IPOA are used to make Kenyans feel something is happening. But in the end, nothing happens. EACC, when money is stolen, you have a feeling that something is going on. Nothing is going on. And I want to end with this mantra of investigation that should be done. In any investigation, the policemen should not be coming out quickly to tell us what happened. You had the first statement, Ojwang hits his head on the wall. Why do you think? To distract people. When I was a young boy, our uncle stole our cows. Sorry to say, this is the truth. So when we woke up and discovered there's no cows, our uncle was leading the search for the cows. So what did he do? When the cows went south, he took us north. So we went north for around 30 kilometers. Only discover if we can't even see the footsteps of the cows. Is when we changed the direction. Thank God later we found the cows. So the policemen immediately, they killed Ojwang. They're the ones telling us the cause of death and giving us direction where to go. So even the parents of Ojwang was confused. What happened to my son? How can my son kill himself and leave me, my only son? You know, that Mzee, my brother, you know, there are so many things we can talk about here on the media. That Mzee arrived at City Mortuary walking on his 2 feet, side by side his brother. When he saw the body of his son, he could not stand on his 2 feet. He was being held by 2 people. He lost everything that you can imagine. For me, the bitterness of that Mzee makes me even stay away from discussing too much about that pain, because it's so painful. I have one son too. If someone can take away that son, how would I feel? In fact, if you have energy, you should produce another son just in case, but of course we can't behave like that. So as far as I'm concerned, investigation should be done this way. Don't listen to the policemen. Investigation, as an expert in investigation, that's why I was there at City Mortuary. There are 3 things in investigation, and I call them A, B, C. I repeat, A, B, C. A means assume nothing. If you're investigating anything, assume nothing. Even what you hear, he hit himself on the wall, Mara, it was the OCPD, OCS, assume nothing. Just go through each and every aspect of evidence till the end. I don't want to explain in detail. The second one is called B, believe nothing. So when you hear, aligonga kichwa kwa ukuta, don't believe that one. He was, I don't know, influencing what? Don't believe. He insulted the IG. Don't believe until you get evidence. That's why you want to do a postmortem, to get concrete evidence. He died of multiple injuries on the head. The bleeding was on the skull. It was internal, and it was not frontal bleeding, so it was not hitting heads against the wall.
And of course, multiple soft tissue injuries.
So when you get that evidence, now you start from there. The last thing, check everything. Do you know, out in the cell, we checked every detail and every part of the body of Ojwang to just check what happened. You know, after we saw the body spoke to us, isn't it? But then also now we went deeper and say, okay, if you see these head injuries, remove the skull and see what was the extent of hitting. You could even measure by centimeters. You know, those ones which were here, laser brazers, those ones, we could count even the centimeters of that damage. And there now you have assumed nothing, you have believed nothing, and you have checked everything, you get the evidence. So everything you hear about Ojwang, I don't know. I had somebody, another MP, going on TV, he has never been seen Ojwang. He was not in the mortuary. He's giving evidence. Why should you believe him? But you can question using logic what could have happened. But that's how investigation should be carried. Not these ones of people telling me, oh, if the policemen investigating have taken sides. So who is doing investigation?
Then, Prof, as we conclude on that matters of Ojwang death, there's a lot of forces from the political class, from various classes in the country, for the resignation of the Deputy Inspector General, that is Eliud Lagat. What do you think should happen? Should Eliud Lagat resign?
First of all, resignation is an option that he can make, and that should be his decision. So these things are two. There's a decision that Eliud Lagat can make by himself. So resignation, you can't force someone to resign. He should do it willingly, because also, if there's any evidence you force him to resign, freedom is something you can't take away from anyone. Even God gave us freedom. Imagine God created me, and God gives me freedom even to sin. Can you imagine? That God will watch me walking, nikienda kufanya dhambi na nipigi. So why should any human being take away someone's freedom? That's how God is fair. You understand? Can you imagine God created somebody and gave them freedom even to criticize God? Have you had people insulting God? And imagine they are still going to bed, they are sleeping, they wake up and they eat. Can you imagine how God is generous? So what about us human beings? So resigning, that is his discretion. But now, who should make a decision? The president is the appointing authority, isn't it? He can decide to fire him, isn't it? If he does not fire him, there's another person who can do this, Parliament and the Senate.
But
that's why.
But there's also, sorry for cutting you short, those who, the forces come from those people who are saying the DIG should resign. They are saying he should resign with immediate effect. But also there's another team, other forces saying he should not resign, he must be charged as well. So between the two.
Let me tell you what Nixon. Those people saying he should resign, those people are lying to you. They are shedding crocodile tears. You get me? Apart from what you are trying to say, apart from resigning, why are we asking to resign? Because they don't want to say he should be hanged. Some people are even gone and say he should be hanged. We don't go there. Let him resign because he's a suspect. Even if I hate you, we have to follow the law. He should be resigning and there should be investigation. Should he found to be culpable, then now we can say this is the action. How do you say someone should be hanged even before he's tried? I don't understand some of those MPs. I saw an MP saying he should be prosecuted in public. He should be hanged in public. So that's a little bit too much. Let's just talk about the issue. If he's requesting him to resign, that's a request. But why I'm saying these MPs are shedding crocodile tears, including the MPs and the senators, who vets IG and deputy IG. It is Parliament. So Parliament is culpable for having vetted someone who has gone ahead to kill Kenyans. Could they not see that in their investigation? What vetting? How poor was the vetting? So this brings to question all the quality of vetting. All nominees to Parliament are passed. Since Ruto became president, tell me which one was rejected. We saw IBC passed, isn't it? Select panel passed. The DCI passed. The one for NIS passed. ODPP passed. Have never said no to anything. Because if MPs trade horses, they are horse traders. They look where money is and they do. They were told to impeach Gachagua, those money, they did. So they have no head of their own. In fact, they are very brainless people, these MPs. They should not even be, Kenyans are sitting the whole day watching them and talking to each other. So first of all, those are scammers. They are shedding crocodile tears. Secondly, why I'm saying they are scammers and shedding crocodile tears, they have the powers to impeach the IG. It's just someone to put up a motion, and the way they read the supersonic speed by evening, just like Gachagua, even if you're in a hospital bed, you go. Imagine they impeach Gachagua in a hospital bed. Why not impeach this man? So those people are shedding crocodile tears. Three, our values, I told you, one, they're the ones who vet them. Two, they have powers to impeach them. Three, they pass the budget which is used for abduction, spying, and killings. Because I told you, you can't leave Nairobi on air. It costs around, if you do a car of 3 engine, 3.5 or 4.5 engine, you need around 40,000 shillings to go to Homa Bay and back. And if you are 3 people, maybe you eat on the way, something like that. So it's quite costly, even to pick him. So according to me, you saw today, in the budget Buddy is reading right now, there's a proposed 100 million shillings to buy a spy software, isn't it? And they are going to pass, isn't it? They passed the budget. I told you there's what they call a budgeted abduction. So the security budget has increased. It has increased because they want to use that budget to fight dissent among the youth. You understand? They passed a bill to regulate how they are giving these people powers to control your social media. So these policemen are cheating. Kenyans are giving Kenyans a lip service. In fact, that's why Gen Z says, drain the swamp. All these are pigs. They are not even human beings. They're just pigs. I talk to friends of mine. They are members of Parliament. Some of them former, they tell me, pale ukienda, inakwanga horse trading. You receive a brown envelope, you vote according to that brown envelope. Finance bill, who passed? Them. After the finance bill was passed, when they saw young people fighting, they passed it. They went to State House to accompany the president in signing. When the president rejected, they clapped. Do they have a head? If in Parliament they pass it, saying this must pass one development, they go to State House the same day, the guy says, I'm not signing, then they clapped. They passed a Danny, isn't it? In the morning. In the afternoon, the president says, this is wrong. They clap. So, do they have a brain of their own? It seems when you enter that Parliament, there must be something that takes away reasoning capacity, remains at the door, then you enter there. Do you see what's written there? For the people of the Republic of Kenya, isn't it? When they enter there, there must be some demons that takes away their thinking, then they don't. So according to me, don't listen to all those calls. Do you know what's happened in Nixon? As a governor?
As we just ended?
Yes, I finished. as a governance expert, we have 3 manuals to run the country. Our fathers never left us run the country with the guesswork. We have the laws of Kenya made in Parliament. We have the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, and last we have policies of Kenya.
Thank you, Prof, for that conversation. And we believe that the family of the late Ojwang's family will get justice as time pass by. Prof, let's cross over now to the issue of budget 2025. Now the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, John Badi, is now addressing the National Parliament to unveil the budget. Do you think that this budget actually is a Kenyan friendly?
No, today. First of all, let me take this chance to congratulate CS Badi for reading the maiden budget. I'm sure the people of Homa Bay are saying the first budget read by a son from Homa Bay. But there's a way God works miracles. When he was telling people now he's the one holding all the money in the country, now he's reading the budget when a son of Homa Bay is lying in city mortuary. The world is just, I don't know whether there's a curse, I don't know how to put it, but it's sad. But nevertheless, let's not take it away from him that reading his maiden budget. Unfortunately, reading it when the son of the soil is lying in city mortuary, but that's a story for another day. Secondly, let's look at a few fundamentals here. You asked a very important question. Hii ni budget ya mwananchi ama la? It is not, unfortunately. Why? The budget is divided into 2 things. Recurrent expenditure for state officers and development, isn't it? We are getting 3.11 trillion going to recurrent expenditure, leaving 671 billion thereabout going to development, isn't it? That simply means hiyo ni bajeti ya watu wa siasa, sivyo? I also saw Nation today called it, Raila Ruto budget, sivyo? So who am I to call it budget ya mwananchi? Nation imesema Raila Ruto budget. Why do they mean? We have a broad-based government, which is broad. It's like we have 2 heads of state. So you know Raila is a head of state, you know that? Ruto is a head of state and government. So the budget allocation to State House has increased to serve the 2 heads of state on heads of government. We also have 2 deputy presidents, isn't it? Yes, we have to, because one was, the court declared that he was not wrongfully removed. So,
but he was impeached.
I mean, those story for another day, but how is, do you know he has a budget he's running on? And then we have Kindiki running a budget as well. But also, Raila is still being paid his pension, isn't it? Or his retirement packages. Kalonzo is still receiving them. Uhuru is still receiving them, isn't it? So the heavy budget to State House is big. The budget has gone more to pay people money, and people chew the money has no development. So that's not a mwananchi budget. Another reason why it's not a mwananchi budget, today's standard talks about the winners and losers of the budget, isn't it? Let me tell you what, that's a very wrong way to look at it. Because they are saying, they are trying to make you feel that they are comparing different ministries, who wins, who loses. That is not how you look at budget in economics. In economics, you have to compare the state, businesses, and household. That's how budgets look like. Because you talk about education, it will be spent where? In a certain household. Because in your house where you are born with your brothers and sisters, there's how much money is spent by your family on education in a year, how much money is spent in healthcare, and how much is spent just on family, cost of living and the rest, isn't it? So we always have to look at economics in terms of household expenditure, business expenditure, and government. Now, if you look at what is happening at the moment, they have increased taxes for businesses, which means that businesses, having got their taxes increased, they'll pass the cost to the consumer, meaning that there'll be more expensive goods and services for households. So that means businesses have lost, households have lost. The second thing, they have added taxes to the workers, employees. So when you add taxes on workers who are earning money, you take away their disposable income.
But now the deputy president today is in Ukambani region, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and he says that there's no more tax we have laid to
so just listen to me, I tell you. They have added taxes to the household. That kills their disposable income, so they can't spend on businesses. For example, if you are a young man like you are, Nixon, and you have opened a small shop selling computers, accessories, phones, blah, 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 isn't it? And the young boys, the comrades, wamekatwa mataxes hivi, watanunua malaptop. They won't buy laptops, they won't buy phones, they won't buy accessories. Sometimes, hata unaona, most comrades are working with phones with the broken screens because you have no money to replace the screen. Yet you have set up a business to replace screens for comrades. And the comrade works for 6 years, or maybe six months, maybe 6 months or 2 years, with a screen which is broken. It means that they don't have the money to replace the screen. Some people cannot even buy headphones, but before, if there was money, you will easily purchase a headphone, you can be able to replace the screen. So that's the point. Now, I answer your question because I'm sure you're in a hurry to understand what I mean, that they have increased taxes. Nixon, do you know when the first finance bill was written? So what about the Constitution of Kenya 2010? Constitution, which was done during the independence, was removed and replaced with the 2010 Constitution. Because they said they had walifanya viraka mingi, yani they had amended it until they could not recognize it. Until Jomo Kenyatta, from his grave, could not say, hey, is this the Constitution? Or Tom Mboya could not recognize it. Now, do you know the first finance bill was brought into force around 2004 under Kibaki administration? Do you know that? And do you know that I'm among the drafters of the finance bill?
You are among them?
Because I was Kibaki's economic advisor. Now, without having said that, there's something which makes sense. After the first finance bill was done, then 2010 Constitution states that every finance bill can run for a certain period of time before it can be revised. So you just ask, taxes have not been increased. The president has told you they have come with a very good narrative, because last time they were very defensive, insisting pay taxes. We have to build for you road. This time they are now saying hakuna taxes, lakini kunayo. Let me give you evidence. I know how many pages a finance bill has. The current finance bill is 137 pages. Now, most of the 7 pages are preliminary pages. So between the remaining pages are 130 pages that are substantive, isn't it? Those 130 pages, even go to the first page. You'll see the first page among the 130, the first page has got 6 deletions per page. You get my point? After this show, I'll show you the same document. In the first page where there is substantive agenda, you see the phrase delete and replace 6 times per page, average. So it means that there's 6 deletions per page, and 130 pages means that there have been 780 deletions in that document. No, in the whole document is 130 pages. 6 deletions per page means that there's 780 deletions in the whole document. Let me ask you a question. If you write your life story and maybe Collins takes it and deletes 780 phrases, is this still telling your story?
No, in fact it has removed something.
That's it. This is deleted, replaced by this one. So that simply means has changed. But now let's go where it matters so that I can answer your question. That's a summary you can go for yourself. In the third schedule, where most taxes were zero rated, they have deleted by saying this has been deleted and replaced by tax exempt. From zero rating to exemption. They have said there's no taxes. That's where the thing is. Now, what's the difference between tax exemption and tax zero rated? And then standardization. But let me just focus on...
Just quickly, because of time.
Tax, when you zero rate a tax, means that the government will not impose any tax on the finished produce of that good. You hear me? And if the producer producing that good incurs a cost, which is tax related, they will be given a tax credit by the government, so they can be reimbursed that money by the government. So then they don't pass that cost to the end consumer. Exemption means that the government will not impose any tax on the finished product on that product, isn't it? But should the producer incur any cost of producing it, they cannot get tax credit and they cannot get reimbursed. Therefore, they'll take that cost and add it to the cost of produce, meaning that produce will be more expensive. So one thing is pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceutical like medicine, Panadols, ARVs, and the rest. They have done that. So if you, for example, you're producing a Panadol and you get raw materials from Uganda to do it or from India and you incur taxes or even import duty and all those things, you'll put that tax on the Panadol and the Panadol will be more expensive because the government cannot reimburse you that money. So one more cynical thing is that we are dealing with healthcare where SHA is not working and many things are also challenging. If taxes increase on medicine and USAID has pulled the trigger on all medicine they were giving Kenyans for free, it means Kenyans are going to suffer in healthcare. So Kindiki is absolutely wrong. Maybe he doesn't know it, but I know he knows because I don't think he doesn't. He's a PhD holder. So
he's your fellow professor.
He's my fellow professor, so he knows what he's doing. But they were managing Kenyans and using technical language to hide the truth from them. Because most Kenyan think zero rating and exemption is one and the same, but it's not. The implication will hit you when you go to the supermarket after this budget. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. And for our viewer, that is the breakdown of the Budget Finance Bill 2025, and of course our correspondent will be working on it. You'll be finding it, and even the Treasury CS now is still addressing the National Parliament concerning the budget. Now, Prof, let us cross over to now the political landscape, the realignment. We see things are now becoming very, the pressure is increasing. They say like that, pressure is increasing.
But for us, say it's boiling nicely.
It is boiling nicely, yes. Indeed. You are right, you're right. We have seen the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, has actually become one of the biggest, one of the factors who are going to, many are saying he's going to determine who is going to be the president in the 2027 election. We have seen him recently together with Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and these are the brigade. Now the opposition alignment is beginning slowly by slowly. What do you rate this opposition party led by Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that, let me answer the question regarding Gachagua first. I don't think you can say led by anyone, because at the moment it's about the team, it's not more about who is leading who. And you could see like yesterday when Kalonzo was giving a speech, invited Justin Muturi to give a speech. So they are trying to share in the leadership team. If you go to the other side, you don't think there is a team. It's a one-man show. It's a one-man show who commands everything. But here there is a team. Like, and that's actually talk about the issue of team leadership. But I'm not praising them.
Now let's talk about Gachagua.
Gachagua is one person who was underestimated by both friends and foe. I think the people in Kenya Kwanza underestimated how important Gachagua was until they lost him. You see this song, which is sung by saying, if you want to know you love her, let her go. You know that song? So now they know Gachagua was a
tough guy.
So when your wife leaves, say, oh my goodness, Kobe, I love her this much.
Was she beautiful like this?
Yeah. You start, you see somebody walking around, you admire your ex and say, wow, my goodness. And you feel ashamed of saying this was my ex. So that's what's happening now. Gachagua is the ex you don't want to have. Because there are some people who have an ex that are so successful, when you meet them, you can't even tell people that was once your ex.
You even
keep
fear.
Quiet, you fear. So the foe also spend a lot of time criticizing Gachagua, how stupid he was. I was in opposition. They say, huyu jamani mjinga, hajasoma, he's not cultured, he has no language. But look, in that opposition, truth be said, he's the most vibrant person. He's the most electric.
He's moving masses.
Yes. And of course, Gachagua has nothing to lose, both to his friends and foe. So he can go all the way. Look at the issue, high cousins and all these kind of things. So Gachagua is vibrant. Now, Kalonzo is the typical diplomat, isn't it? Who doesn't come strongly but wants to be in control. Kalonzo do not want
and
to
very
show,
strategic.
but Kalonzo wants to show he's in control by not even looking to be overbearing. So that's what's going on there. Now, whether they'll stay together or not, we don't know, because we see Fred Machang want to come in. Who will be the candidate? That should not be the discussion. The candidate will be a unity candidate among them. That's how they think. But there's only one thing still missing there. Because what is the Kenyan question? Have they been able to answer the Kenyan question? Have they been able to answer why Gen Zs went to the street? Whether that question can be answered by that team is debatable, but I can almost start talking about it.
But some of them can say, maybe, for example, the former deputy president, maybe Rigathi Gachagua can say, I tried to talk, and that is why I was removed. In fact, that is one of the excuses he tells the people.
Those are, yes, I'm saying.
Same to Justin Muturi.
Yeah.
So they say, I talked when I was inside. That is why I was removed. So is it answering you that they will tell people like...
They will, of course, politicians
I was removed
are politicians,
because of this.
but I'm just asking, the Kenyan problem is economic. What is the economic magic? Do they have the economic formula? I'm sure that question will also come, because I'm sure these guys are still norming and forming. Then later they'll formulate economic policy. But nevertheless, I'm trying to say we are still waiting for the Kenyan question. Because my grandmother in the village wants to ensure that she can eat, isn't it? My uncles and relatives want to take their child to school, isn't it? Somebody wants to ensure that somebody can go to hospital and be well. So it is still boiling nicely, but as the word boiling nicely means usitoe kitu kwa chungu. Let it boil until you can say sasa imeiva.
It has boiled officially.
So it is still boiling nicely. Don't interfere with the boiling, but also remember, as they are doing their thing, there's also some people doing their thing. They're called new generation of leaders, where I belong. We, as young people, of course, I don't want to say I'm a youth. I'm not a youth. But I'm youthful. But I could say I'm a new generation leader because I've never gone to politics and done the mess. So we also believing that we have an alternative. We need alternative leadership because we have the people who are messing up the country, and there are people saying, tutatotoa tukiingia. Yet we have immediate problem. Ojwang has died now. We have to sort that out, isn't it? We have a bad finance bill and budget. That's a problem right now. There is no allocation capitation to universities and even to schools. That's a problem now. Healthcare is in trouble. Corruption is horrible. There's abduction. So will we say kumi bila break, which means kifo bila break, like the people trying to play around the Luos are saying that. They're not saying that, isn't it? So there's a lot of things that needs to be done immediately that we can't wait to do. And that's why we still are asking this opposition, what are you doing right now? Because they're saying Ojwang's issue will go into the campaign manifesto. But before that, how many Ojwang will have lost? How many Rex Masais we lost? How many Kennedys we lost? How many Otieno have we lost? The ones who died in Nakuru, the one who died in Molo. Now even today here another one died, isn't it? So until when will it be no more? So these are urgent issues that I think that the opposition should stop discussing about themselves and now start tackling the people's issue right now. Maybe that could give them credibility, but you know what? Politicians are very clever. They take you to political arena so that you avoid asking the economic questions. You understand? Ukienda nyumbani na bibi aseme, so we go for shopping, you tell her, by the way, can you put a movie? So you are distracting us from discussing the issue of going to do shopping. You want to say, tuone movie bana tengeneza chai tukunywe. Yani, you don't want the whole question to be asked. But nevertheless, the one thing we know, that Ruto is a one-term president because arithmetically I've done it. It is arithmetically impossible, even if you steal to what magnitude. That's what I know. So opposition just needs to ensure, because if I say opposition, I'm also among them, opposition just have to ensure that they get a winning formula, but also not just solve the one-term issue. The person getting the first term should also be somebody who is solving the Kenyan economic problem, because Kenyans don't care who is the president, by the way. Kenyans just want their issues to be sorted, and it's quite easy.
Indeed. Now, as we end, where do you place the Gen Z movement in now the new political outfit, and even in ahead of 2027 general election?
So first of all, Gen Zs united around one factor, which was economic, and that was easy. Political unity is difficult because there's a lot of rivalries, because they have to pick one of them and stand by that person of them. At the moment, anybody trying to rise, there's a lot of upheavals, and they just need to be united around one person. They might be afraid of making somebody their king because they say leaderless. So the leaderless is difficult. What made them reject the finance bill cannot make them make a president. So if they don't get that difference and realize that politics is about interest, how can they bring them multiple interests together and win the election? Somebody can say, Mimi says the president, me I can be an MP.
And
for me,
support
I can be that and support someone. And the thing is, also another challenge they have is that they have never run for an electoral seat. So they are still doing, they still will be trying. It doesn't mean they can't win it because it has happened in Burkina Faso, it has happened in Senegal, it has happened elsewhere. So they can do it.
Indeed.
But the first thing they need is unity. They should not have a lot of ideas. You know, there's what we call the hedgehog concept. A hedgehog, you know, a hedgehog as an animal. A hedgehog wakes up in the morning with one idea to eat. And they'll say, my idea will be scroll to that fuel station and get nyama nikule hapo, sivyo? But a wolf can wake up with 20 ideas to eat and go to bed hungry.
Indeed.
So if you want to succeed in life, synthesize your ideas and drill them down to 1, 2, 3 that can make you win. So Gen Zs also need to organize and actually become one. Then some of them need to transition to become leaders rather than being activists. You know, it's difficult for you to win election when you are an activist. Remember, Koigi Wamwere was an activist for long. He struggled to get elected. He got elected now very too late. But some people, you go to activism, then you transition to become a leader. Then you can, so there's a lot of learning curve they have to go through disadvantageously. They don't have a lot of resources like others have. But we rely on people like you, Kenya Times. Please give them airtime so that they can get known. But also people who can go in to support them with ideas and support them with money. I think that could be very helpful. But nevertheless, the idea, they have one strength, numbers. But that numbers must be added by unity in the numbers. If the numbers are divided, they are very weak. If they come together in their numbers, they are unstoppable.
Gen Z, that is your message from Professor Fred Ogola. Thank you for tuning in for this conversation, this insightful conversation. Prof, asante sana for coming.
Thank you, my brother.
We would like to see you once again, and once again.
Whenever you call upon me, it's national duty, I'll respond.
Thank you. I've been your host, Nixon Jau. Keep it the Kenya Times.